Hello everyone, Aimer back with part 3 of the big ranking list of Mission Impossible episodes. I'm going to pick up where we left off the last time. Some people have been asking about how and when I'm going to be able to kind of break this into some more meaningful chunks, like, by grade or whatever. I want to kind of get through some of the lower end episodes first, and then I think I'll be in a better position to do that. So stay tuned. It's happening soon. In case you're wondering what's going on, I urge you to go back to the beginning of this playlist and go to the introductory video so you get a feel for what's going on and start with part 1 before you start with this one. Number 146, Season 2, Episode 10, Charity. Eric and Catherine Hagar bilk wealthy people in the name of fake charities, and the IMF must bring them down. Poor Fritz Weaver as Eric gets struck with a real clunker here. This is the first one that I have dropped precipitously. I think it was around the D+ range, and I have it now down to a D- in looking back at it again. It's not so much bad as it is just straightforward and predictable. It's very, very difficult to find something meaningful to say about it. The teamwork is good. There is a platinum heist, which visually looks pretty good on the screen, but that's really about all you can say in this one. It's better than the previous episodes, primarily because of the presence of Fritz Weaver. He gives it his all, and he's a very, very quality actor. And Hazel Court as Catherine is pretty good too. Also dropping from a much higher grade, number 145, Nitro. The IMF must stop 2 neighboring countries from going to war from a planned false flag terrorist attack. This one is a really, really slow mover. There's a nitroglycerin heist, which is supposed to generate a lot of suspense. It does an average job of doing that. It's got Mark Leonard, who's always great when he's on the show, but he has very, very minimal screen time. And the other guest stars really don't exude a lot of charisma. The story is very, very basic. And it just has kind of a plot contrivance for suspense that gets thrown into many episodes to try and cover up the lack of substance in the rest of the plot. The actors and the directors all agree that it kind of missed the mark. It's better because this is a neat idea for a story, despite the so-so execution. And Martin Landau's effort is really good in this episode, I feel. Number 144, Season 5, Episode 14, Takeover. The IMF must thwart mobster Charlie Peck's plan to plant Steve Tallman as the mob's puppet as state governor by manipulating activity during upcoming student protests. Like many Season 5 episodes, this one tries to mix a late 1960s counterculture vibe with an IMF mission, and it seems to fall on the wrong side of both, as many of those plots do. Lloyd Bochner is the main mark in this one. He's decent, but it's not a great performance. It's kind of wasted. And the other guests are, frankly, just unmemorable. This is better than previous episodes because of Leslie Warren's performance in this one. This is the character, she plays a college student, that is probably best suited to her during this season. And she fits the part well and really does a good job with it. Number 143, Season 3, Episode 2, Contenders, also dropping significantly. The IMF goes after a corrupt boxing promoter and his syndicate partner, who rigs the betting by setting Barney up to take the place of a returning champion. When I did this review, I gave this episode a D, but I am dropping it down to a D-. It's one where it's clear that the producers wanted to do an episode about boxing. They wanted to build a 2-part episode around Sugar Ray Robinson, who was a popular boxer at the time. But it's not good. I don't like it. The characters are, the guest characters are lame. The IMF characters are lame. There's so much padding and plotting. television minutes spent on Greg Morris in the boxing ring with stock footage of huge crowds. The plot is extremely ordinary. It's better than previous episodes only because it's got a decent array of guest stars. But it's the more minor characters. The marks that the IMF is actually after, those characters are boring. It's the little guys, they're heavies, that are actually kind of interesting in this one. The main villains are barely around. Number 142, Season 6, Episode 11, The Visitors. The IMF must get corrupt tycoon Edward Granger to admit his machinations for the syndicate before key state elections by convincing him that he can actually achieve the immortality he craves. A lot of you out there are saying, wow, it took you this long to get to that one? Here we are. I can't put this episode lower than this because I can watch it and I don't feel bored or angry, though the action definitely plods in the middle of the episode. Steve Forrest plays Tycoon Ed Granger in this episode. He's a lame, self-righteous schmuck, and he is that way from beginning to end of this episode. It's amazing how having an actor like him with his rugged timbre voice, it almost seems to make up for the silly dialogue his character actually has in this one. But that's only in the moment. It becomes dumber every time you rewatch it. At least in this episode, there is enough of a plot that we want to see how it's going to shake out in the end. It's better because of that, and at least it has Frank Hotchkiss as a guy named Kellogg. He is a decent presence in this episode. He shows competence, and he's not a complete job. Number 141, Season 7, Episode 12, Crack Up. The IMF has to find the syndicate link of contract killer and chess master Peter Cordell. I'm sorry, but Alex Cord does not work well as a Mission Impossible villain, either here or in the revival episode that he's in. The entire premise of this episode is completely bogus. The IMF basically use hypnotic suggestions to make Peter Cordell believe that he's committed 3 murders that he cannot remember. And they can do that, but they can't just hypnotize the information they want out of him. And that is really, really, really super weak. Peter Cordell, played by Alex Cord, checks off the 3 boxes of bad MI adversaries. The 3 kisses of death are right here. Lame, boring, and schmuck. Better than previous episode because, and only because, we have a guest female agent, Sandy, who is played by a lady named Marilyn Mason, and she checks a lot of Barbara Bain boxes as kind of a femme fatale. She's great in this one. Number 140, Season 1, Episode 13, Elena. An agent in a foreign country has started to behave erratically, and Rollin is sent to figure out why before she becomes too much of a liability. This is another early episode which for me is very close to terrible, another experimental one which just didn't work. There's decent acting by Barbara Luna as Elena. We've got Barry Atwater as a hypnotist who tries to figure out what's wrong with her, and other good actors. But the point of Mission Impossible is not to solve a 1-hour mystery. The writers tried to shoehorn in another agent who has a different mission with orders to kill Elena if we can't figure out what's wrong with her. But again, the plot just doesn't work. It's not something that belongs on this show. It's suited to a much different kind of show. Better because Barbara Luna's presence in this episode is quite good. She definitely makes the most of her minutes. Number 139, Season 7, Episode 18, The Fighter. The IMF must use troubled boxing promoter Paul Mitchell, who sold out to the syndicate, to bring down the operation, leveraging Mitchell's daughter, who's involved with a key boxer. If this one already sounds familiar, it's because it is. There's absolutely nothing new in this one. It's yet another great example of a lazy script from Season 7, which draws on previous episodes, and not from the good ones. We have veterans William Wyndham as Mitchell and Joe Moross as his syndicate guy Braddock. They do the best they can with this script, which is not saying much. We know these two guys can contribute to making good episodes when they have something good to work with. This episode is completely a shell of that. This is better than the previous episodes I've mentioned because of the presence of Wyndham and Moross. You can't really have a completely horrible episode with these guys. And also because Jennifer Shaw, who plays Mitchell's daughter Susan, does a good job with the character that she's given as well. Number 138, Season 7, Episode 1, Break. Mobsters, Krebs and Allen killed a federal agent whose camera watch contains information that can bring them down, and the IMF must find it with assistance from newcomer Mimi Davis, Allen's old girlfriend. Yes, it's got Robert Conrad as Allen and Carl Betts as Krebs, who are both good actors. But the title card that opens this episode says New Orleans. It really should say Schmuck City. This is very similar to other episodes where we've got good actors, but their performances are just wasted because the IMF is miles ahead of them at every turn. There's also a senseless part of the episode where Press Allen turns on his boss, Krebs, despite the fact that we're told that he's fiercely loyal, based on practically nothing. And that is the hallmark of a lazy, separate, and mislead plot. Better than the previous ones because Barbara Anderson has a good outing here. It's a great way to introduce her to the show. And surprisingly, the billiard playing scenes are not completely boring. Number 137, Season 7, Episode 19, Speed. Sam Hibbing has stolen 3 tons of meth, and the IMF must retrieve it and put him out of business. His wild daughter Margaret is coincidentally a meth addict. This episode tries to be like the episode in Season 6, Encounter, with the IMF trying to both help and use an uncooperative family member to get at their target. But this time it fails miserably, as the subplot outshines the main goal of what they're trying to achieve with their mission. Claude Akins as Sam Hibbing is not so much a schmuck as he is just a complete buffoon. There's car chases and motorcycle scenes throughout the streets of San Francisco that frankly don't do much for the plot. And the IMF is yet again just miles ahead of the bad guys. There is absolutely no challenge here at all. The only challenge that I faced is resisting the urge to punch my screen every time the wildcard character of Zinc came on the screen. Better than the previous episodes because of Jenny Sullivan's performance as Margaret Hibbing. That's it. Number 136, Season 7, Episode 15, Boomerang. Eve Vale killed her husband John to get records that could put the Luchek crime organization out of business, as an insurance policy of sorts, and the IMF must get that information. There is some good work in this one by the guest stars. We have Ronald Feinberg as Luchek, who never seems to get his just due on the show, and Lorraine Stevens as Eve Vale. But the writing isn't great. It's a fairly predictable and plotty hour. Another one of those potential romances happens here, involving Jim Phelps and Eve Vale, where you're really not sure who's working who and to what end. And those sorts of stories never seem to work terribly well on Mission Impossible, because you need more than 1 hour to tell such stories properly in general. It ends up being a distraction more than anything else. This episode is better than previous ones because of Lorraine Stevens as Eve Vale. I like the way that she carries herself and plays the character in this episode. Thanks everybody for watching. We're into the D's now. Going to be heading into the D pluses. There are more of these episodes than I thought, so I'm probably going to have to break this chunk into 2 before we get up into the C- stage. I'll be back with the next set of episodes very, very soon. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please leave your comments. I'll see you next time.